In 2016, an 87-year-old man was lying in a hospital bed in Vancouver with electrodes taped to his scalp. He'd fallen, hit his head, and developed epilepsy from the injury. Doctors weren't trying to study death, they were just trying to track his seizures. Then, without warning, his heart stopped. And because the machine was already running for the first time in human history, scientists recorded the electrical activity of a human brain as it died. What they found in those 30 seconds has forced neuroscientists to reconsider what the moment of death even means. For 15 minutes before the man's heart stopped, his brainwaves looked like ordinary damaged brain activity. But in the 30 seconds surrounding cardiac arrest, something changed. His brain began producing a surge of what's called gamma oscillations, the fastest, highest frequency brainwave the human brain can generate. Gamma waves aren't random noise. They're the same frequency your brain produces when you're remembering something, dreaming, or deeply concentrating. Even stranger, the study, published in Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience in 2022, found that this gamma activity was cross-communicating with alpha waves, a pattern researchers already associate with memory retrieval. Dr. Ajmal Zemar, the neurosurgeon who led the study, put it plainly that the dying brain may have been playing a final recall of life's most important moments right as it shut down. One case isn't proof of anything, but it wasn't the first hint. 9 years earlier, in 2013, neuroscientist Jimo Borjigin at the University of Michigan had run a much stranger experiment on rats. She and her team euthanized the animals via cardiac arrest while monitoring their brain activity. And in the 30 seconds after each rat's heart stopped, she recorded a massive spike in gamma waves, higher than anything measured while the rats were awake and alert. It was such a strange result that for years, most scientists assumed it had to be some kind of electrical artifact, dying neurons misfiring randomly on their way out. Borjigin didn't think so. She spent the next decade trying to prove it in humans. In 2023, her team published a study in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, using EEG data from 4 dying patients in intensive care. 2 of the 4 showed the exact same gamma surge, right as blood flow to the brain stopped, concentrated in a region of the brain scientists call the hot zone for consciousness, the same area that lights up during dreaming, meditation, and out-of-body hallucinations during seizures. Both patients who showed the surge had a history of seizures themselves, which Borjigin thinks may have primed their brains to produce it. But here's the detail that made the finding impossible to ignore. This wasn't happening while the brain was healthy and well supplied with oxygen. This was happening after the heart had already stopped, after blood flow had already ceased. At the exact moment, every model of brain death says consciousness should already be gone. So if the dying brain really can generate something like a final burst of awareness, what does it actually feel like from the inside? For that, you don't look at machines, you look at survivors. In 2023, Dr. Sam Parnia at NYU Langone published the largest study ever conducted on cardiac arrest survivors, tracking 567 patients across 25 hospitals in the US and UK. Only 53 survived long enough to be interviewed. Of those, 28 completed full interviews about what they remembered. 11 of them, nearly 40%, described some form of awareness during the resuscitation itself while their hearts were stopped and doctors were performing CPR on their unconscious bodies. Some described dreamlike experiences, some described a vague sense that something was happening around them. But 6 of the 28, over 20%, described something Parnia's team categorized separately, a transcendent lucid recollection of the process of dying itself. Memories more vivid and structured than a dream, described by patients as more real than real. Parnia has said publicly that there's nothing more extreme than cardiac arrest because these patients are, by every clinical measure, unconscious, unresponsive, and clinically dead. And yet some of them come back with memories organized enough to describe in detail. Not everyone agrees on what this means. Neurologist Daniel Conziella has pointed out that these near-death experiences might not be unique to death at all. His leading alternative theory is that it's REM, sleep intrusion into wakefulness, the same neurological mechanism, misfiring, that causes ordinary people to hallucinate while falling asleep or waking up. Under this theory, a dying brain doesn't need anything mystical to explain a vivid, dreamlike final experience. It just needs to briefly blur the line between 2 states. It already knows how to produce waking and dreaming At the one moment in your life, your brain is under more stress than it's ever been. And there's a darker possibility too. Borjigin herself admits the gamma surge could simply be a sign of a pathological process unique to dying, brain cells firing in their final, uncoordinated moments, with no one inside experiencing anything at all. We genuinely don't know. What we do know is this. For decades, doctors treated the moment the heart stopped as the moment a person's story ended, a hard line between being and not being. The data doesn't support that anymore. Zemmour has said these findings challenge our basic understanding of when life actually ends, right down to questions as concrete as when it's ethical to remove someone's organs for donation. The brain, it turns out, doesn't switch off like a light. It seems to make one last pass through itself first, whether or not anyone is left inside to watch it happen. Every single person who has ever died did this. Your grandparents, history's most famous figures, everyone who came before you, and one day, so will you. Whatever that final surge actually contains, a hallucination, a malfunction, or something closer to a memory, it is, statistically, the most universal experience a human being can have. We've just never been able to see it before now.